else? What forms of meditation do you guys engage in?
It's probably weird, but I meditate coloring. It calms me down. It's peaceful.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, nothing weird about that.
I write.
Okay.
Just spend time with God, just listening. Like, yeah.
I eat candy bars.
What was that one?
I eat candy bars.
Eat candy bars. Okay.
That's what my stress level.
So what do you think all of these have in common?
I think that for me, meditation trains my mind to be unreceptive to distractions so that I can have balance, rhythm, and order in my life.
Okay. I like that. Anybody else? What are some commonalities between all of these forms of meditation?
Peaceful. Exposure. Yeah.
To connect with your inner self, to connect to your inward self.
Okay. All right.
I'll strip away all the perceptions I have of myself and try to get to the authentic Robin.
Okay. Is there anybody in here who doesn't meditate, not a fan of it, doesn't really think too much about it? Okay. Tell me a little bit about that. What is your idea on meditation?
I just don't have the patience for it, I don't think.
Okay.
Like, it's just my mind is not letting me meditate. It's very annoying.
Okay. Anybody else?
There are definitely times when I feel that, where it's really difficult to sort of separate your thoughts from yourself. Sometimes it's overwhelming.
So, sorry. So it's not that we don't believe in it. It's just difficult for us. Is that what you're saying?
I don't believe in it.
Okay, so you don't believe in it. All right. So not only is there no patience and the but you also just don't believe in it also. Okay, cool. Anybody else? Why don't you believe in it?
Just never worked for me. I actually, like, in the rehab I was at before I came here, I really tried. It was really quiet and we were meditating for like an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really tried, but it just, my mind wouldn't let me. I was just thinking about everything else.
Yeah, sometimes, man, starting small chunks, like 2 minutes, like set a timer for 2 minutes. Then, you get practice an hour. I've never done an hour. 45 minutes, even, like 10 minutes.
Just this man talking.
Because, no, because you're thinking, in the back of your mind, you're probably thinking, God, this is going to last forever. Or at least I would be. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't do it. Meditation. So for me, it was always that way. The small chunks.
Yeah, I've never tried that.
Yeah. The 45 minutes is ridiculous to start on. Just kind of working way up. Yeah, that's like Buddhist monk. Compared to where I'm at, that's like Buddhist monk level. It's like 45 minutes, a long time to sit anywhere. I don't know, that's my suggestion. Because I find it very useful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's too much.
When I listen to music, I guess I meditate because I don't think.
No, but that's there. You just made a valid point. When I listen to music, I'm meditating. Maybe sitting in a room listening to a YouTube video and everybody of people going, oh, like doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? Maybe listening to music does it for you. You know what I'm saying? So thank you everybody for sharing. My goal today is to kind of open our minds to what meditation can be and how meditation works in the idea of improving our conscious contact with a whatever, God, higher power, whatever it is that we're trying to improve our conscious contact with, and the knowledge and how to combine that with prayer for the knowledge to carry out whatever God's will is and the power to carry out what that is. So real quick, we're going to review what it is that we're talking about. Then we're going to get into some definitions about what is and is not a what is and is not prayer, what is not meditation. And to be honest, like pretty much meditation is everywhere. So just to kind of hone in on a definition that works for all of us to figure out what are the commonalities between all of these forms of meditation that we have. How do they, what's the thing that they all have in common, and how can I use that to improve my conscious contact? So the 11th step is we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will and for the power to carry that out. Now, the goal here is to improve our conscious contact, okay? We've already had this contact. We've already been doing this contact, probably unconsciously. Maybe we have developed a degree of conscious contact, and perhaps this is about improving that conscious contact. We've already been doing it. You know, it's not that we haven't been doing it. It's like, you know, maybe we've been doing it through listening to music. Maybe we've been doing it through walking. Maybe we've been meditating or doing whatever through, you know, some breathing or guided meditation on YouTube. This is about trying to improve whatever contact we've already been established in doing, and identifying what is the contact that we've already been having. How long has this contact been going on? Has it been going on since I got sober? Has it been going on since my addiction? Has it been going on since before? These are all questions that we're going to ask. I mean, why didn't I know this before? And how come I'm learning this now? And all this type of information may be discovered through just trying to figure out what is meditation, how do we meditate, and understanding it from a very broad and open perspective. So let's start off by defining what meditation is. Let me move this, go here. So to meditate means, so for those of you taking notes, you could write this down. To meditate means to think deeply or focus one's mind for a period of time in silence or with the aid of chanting for religious or spiritual purposes or as a method of relaxation. Now, let's just, there's two, see this word or right here? I'm trying to underline it. Or. That means that it's either thinking deeply or focusing one's mind for a period of time, right? You could do this in silence. You could do this with the aid of chanting. The chanting doesn't necessarily need to be Om. Maybe it's just music. Maybe it's a rhythm of some sort, you know? And this is for religious or spiritual purposes, or just to relax and get all the health benefits. Now, there are a lot of health benefits from meditation, but learning how to meditate and focus your mind for a period of time or think deeply, to focus your mind for a period of time or think deeply. Disregard the rest of this definition. I'll just cross this out, with the aid of chanting or for religious or spiritual purposes, right? Look at the one below it. Think deeply or carefully about something. This is like critical thinking. This is about thinking deeply, considering new ideas, new possibilities, to plan mentally or consider. So to meditate is to actually plan something, to not write the plan down, but to think about this plan, to mentally involve myself in the plan, to think deeply or carefully consider certain parts of this plan, to wonder what are some kids to play the tape through, maybe, right? And you could do this for a period of time. How long? I love how somebody mentioned doing it just for 2 minutes. You don't have to do it for 45 minutes. You don't have to do it for 8 hours. You don't have to do it for a whole group. You could do it for 10 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 seconds, right? Now think about that. I mean, if I could do 45 minutes of meditation, can I do 1 second of meditation? Is there such thing as 1 second, 2 second meditation? What is 2 second meditation? Is 2 second meditation an impulsive decision? How long does it take to make one of those impulsive decisions? I mean, and you can actually get down to the mathematics of this. For somebody to make 1.2 decisions, like we make every second, we make 0.6 decisions. So if I'm making a decision every 1.2 seconds, then I'm thinking about that decision. And if I'm not, obviously you're not thinking about everything you're doing every second of every day, which means some of those thoughts are going to be unconscious. They're going to be preconditioned. They're going to be influenced in some way. Every second, every half a second, perhaps I'm unconsciously being influenced. I'm having some sort of contact with something that is impacting the way I think. And if I'm not thinking deeply about this, if I'm not taking time to consider and think deeply about my thoughts at some point, then maybe they just start happening. They just get out of my hand. These thoughts just start occurring. And maybe you start losing control of these thoughts. And if these 1 second thoughts start to stack up and add up, then maybe some of these decisions get made for me. And how does what I'm not thinking deeply about impact the outcome of my life? How does me not spending a period of time thinking about things impact my life, both positive and negative, right? Like maybe me not spending time thinking about the trauma I had in my childhood or all the relapses I've had is a problem. Maybe I should be spending time deeply thinking about those things and planning mentally to prevent negative outcomes from happening. And maybe meditation isn't enough. Maybe the conscious contact that I have is too little. Maybe I need to increase and improve my conscious contact. Maybe I've already been having this conscious contact and I just need to improve it in some other way, right? And I need to start consciously becoming aware of what I'm thinking and doing. Maybe consciously becoming aware of what is influencing me. What am I exposing myself to that's influencing me to think this way, that's influencing me to act this way or behave this way? And when you start to consider those things, new questions start to come up. This is where the prayer gets combined with that meditation, right? We start to say, is this right? Should I be doing this? And should I be doing this? Is this the right thing to do? Is there more out there? Both positive and negative prayers may come, and maybe perhaps we've been doing this our entire life, right? If there's this unconscious contact with God, where does the consciousness arise, right? At what point does it become consciously communicating with a higher power? And some of the commonalities that we've been discussing, like last week, we were discussing some of our relationships with a higher power. And we came to understand that we were brought into some religious understanding. And then we kind of deviated on our own personal journey of spirituality. Some of us may have a different story. I'm just going off of what we talked about last week. And then having to reignite conscious contact. Some of us even went out of our way to avoid conscious contact with a higher power. Or when the conscious contact with that higher power was present, it was a negative one. It was a spiteful one. It was it's your fault. What did I do, God? It was a self-pity. It was an anger. Yep, of course, this would happen to me. Just another thing in my life. This is just God fucking me over again. instead of taking the time to think deeply and consider new possibilities, right? And even think about it. But some people don't want to think about it, or they don't want to think about aspects of it. They don't want to think about their part in the situation. They don't want to think about right and wrong in the decision that they made. They want to play the blame game, and these are just types of things. These are us avoiding thoughts. This is us just preventing ourselves with engaging from new ideas. And what is preventing us from engaging in new ideas? Is that right? Should I allow this idea to get in the way of my new ideas? Should I allow myself to not learn how to gain this ability to think deeply and critically? Maybe we were never taught. Maybe the class on meditation where I was trying to learn a thing or two, I walked out of it. And I don't know why that girl had to leave, but that's unfortunate because she's missing out on the education we're talking about on meditation, something that may be able to help her, you know? Fuck, she doesn't get to think deeply about thinking deeply. Some people miss that class. Is there even a class on it? How the fuck how do I get to learn this? Some people may learn it from a literal YouTube video. It's difficult to learn how to facilitate this type of deep thinking on your own. So people use other things to facilitate meditation. And it's not just videos on YouTube. Sometimes it's active movement, like walking, you know what I mean? Or coloring. You know, what does that do? It puts me in a place where I'm allowed to think deeply about these things. I mean, for some people, maybe they need to be in a calm, rested state to get focused, and just consider that's fine. Totally cool. Like if some people need to be in a library to read a book, other people can be in the middle of a fucking New York City bus, being able to read a fucking book with chaos going around them. You know what I mean? That doesn't make one or the other person better. That's just how they go about it. You know what I mean? Like you're both getting the same thing. You're both getting to read the book. It's like, how are you coming to these resolutions? You have to come to these resolutions in some way. You have to gain this knowledge. You have to gain this power in some way. How am I going to do that? Well, let's think deeply about it and start maybe asking some questions, praying about what might work, what might help, so that I can start planning mentally for something positive, right? And I remember having conscious contact with my higher power and meditating in active addiction. I thought really deeply about how to crack a master's lock and get into a safe one time. I thought deeply about how to sit quietly and, wait for the shower door to close so that I could go steal from my mother's pocketbook in her bedroom. I thought deeply about that shit. I thought deeply about my route home when I was trying to not get DUIs, I thought really deeply about all these things. You know what I really considered? That God was there when I got pulled over trying to buy those pills in Concord, New Hampshire, and I put the pills in my sock, and the cop was like, "Where are you coming from?" And I just made up some fucking bullshit, dude. And I remember being like, "Yo, God, that's what's up." Like, dude, that's my conscious contact, right? You know what my conscious contact turned into at the end of my addiction? What was my conscious contact with God at the end of my addiction? And just consider conscious contact in any other relationship, right? Any other relationship. If you want to have a marriage, you need to consciously contact that person. You need to think of them. You need to put them at the forefront. Like if you want to have a relationship with someone for life, whether it's your kids, your family, or yourself, you need to put those motherfuckers at the forefront of your mind. You need to think about them. You need to consider them. You need to think deeply about what you're doing and make sure what you're doing aligns with restoring those relationships, making those relationships the best they could possibly be, whether it's with myself, with our family, with our kids, with strangers, with our peers, with me, with the staff there, with the BHTs, with the guy who cut me off in the middle of traffic. It's up to me to see these things and consciously become aware of, I mean, I'm not saying that the guy cuts me off in traffic, is necessarily a God moment, but who's to say it's not? I'm not necessarily saying that, every single BHT or fucking therapist you come across is like a godsend, but how do you know it's not? How do I know that you're not going to teach me something that absolutely blows my mind today and changes the entire course of my life? Just because just because I start thinking about something you never I never considered before. And all of a sudden, the whole perspective on the world is different. Like discovering Santa Claus isn't real. It's like all of a sudden, your whole perspective on the world is different. It's like discovering that alcohol is bad for me. You know what I mean? The whole perspective on the world may be different, just on the basis of one new idea. Now, is this something you can get better at? Probably. I'm sure that you could learn how to meditate, start off small and then improve, but the thing that I would say is there's nothing bad about thinking. There's nothing bad about thinking. Like think, it's just thoughts. That's all it is. When you don't open up about your thoughts, when you're not sharing your thoughts with people, that's when they become bad. That's why pray and meditate, talk and think, that's like communicating, healthy communicating. And this is about doing that relationship with a higher power. Communicating, listening, communicating, listening. How am I going to do that? What is the journey that's going to cause me to do that? Have I already been doing it? How has already been doing this helped me? I mean, you've had to think deeply about a lot to be sober. A lot. You had to mentally plan a bunch of stuff just to be sober, just to be where you are today. So it's like, perhaps we've been doing this and it's gotten me this far. How this, like the thing about the 11th step, it's like, okay, so now I start to understand that maybe I've been meditating this whole time, consciously and unconsciously. So I have to start thinking about what I'm exposing myself to. I need to start thinking about my thoughts. How am I going to do that? How am I going to improve this relationship I have? Because this relationship is incredible, not only with myself, but with God, with everybody. How's this going to get better? Are there areas of my life that I can be better? I'm just going to keep this going. And this prayer and meditation and thinking deeply is on a foundation of a 10th step, of a daily inventory, of already making amends, of going through these emotional changes, of working on these character defects. Now, we may not be there right now where we've already done those things, but maybe that's a closed-minded view on it. Maybe you have already been doing these things. And my lack of praying and meditating, or my, maybe praying and meditating in a way that doesn't work for me and just giving up, maybe that's part of me not figuring out this answer. And you could do that today. You could pray and meditate, just trying things, Any comments before we jump into the literature so far? Okay. All right. Questions? Now, I'm not an expert on meditating. This is just my idea of what meditation is. Okay. I don't want anybody to think that I am like claiming to be Captain Meditation or anything like that. Okay. These are just things that I find in commonalities that I see in ways that I consider meditation in the most simplistic form as well as the most complex form. So I look at it as the smallest form of meditation as well as the longest form of meditation. And these long forms of meditation to me are on of like long-term goals to accomplish, are on a foundation of making these considerations and thinking deeply about decisions that we make on a daily basis. Like say you take a mortgage out for a house. That's like a 30-year mortgage of making payments every single goddamn month. So it's not just about saying, I'm going to take out a loan and buy a house. It's like I'm committing to managing my money every month. And if you want to manage your money every month, you need to manage your money every day. You need to manage your money every week. You need to manage, you know what I mean? There is no impulsive, if for some people, there is no impulsive Amazon buying or dumb purchases. You have to actually think deeply about the purchases that you make. You need to be like, should I buy this or should I not buy this if I want to get to where I want to be? And some people don't think about that. They go, I want it. Swipe. They don't think about smoking. They just go, I want it. They don't think about what they're eating. They just go, I'm hungry. They don't think about wasting time. They just go, I'm tired. They don't think about ruining relationships. They just, or even how to form relationships. They just go, they're an asshole. It's them, their fault. They don't take time to think deeply about this shit. And you know what happens? You know, other people are thinking deep about it. And you know what they're saying? I'm not fucking hanging out with that guy. Well, you're over here not thinking about your decisions. The clinical staff is saying, wow, this guy's making a lot of shitty decisions. Maybe we should kick this guy out. Oh, man. Well, you're not thinking about what I should do with my money. The mortgage company is going, so we're going to take this house back because we own it, technically. When you don't pay your student loans, they garnish your wages and they say, oh, you're not going to pay us? Cool, we'll take that. If you say, fuck the police, I'm not paying that speeding ticket, they're going to pull you over and say, hey, bud, you got a bench warrant. Did you not pay that speeding ticket, dude? Oh, man. And imagine if you were drunk when you got pulled over for that unpaid speeding ticket. Whoa, that wouldn't be good. That's not funny, Jimmy. Why are you laughing? Oh, because we're okay. Because we're in rehab right now. That's never going to happen again because we're going to stay sober and we're going to start thinking about our decisions. And prayer and meditation can help us think about our decisions. Just consider last week we were talking about spontaneous prayer, right? And we were talking about using something like the Serenity Prayer as a form of spontaneous prayer, right? Imagine you're in a situation where you're getting overwhelmed and you go, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. What are you doing then? You're thinking. You're breathing. Like that prayer sets you up to think differently about the situation, to consider it in a different way. You start to say, well, what can I control? What can't I control? Is it worth it? You know what I mean? And you start to, that's how wisdom is gained, right? This is the goal of combining the prayer with the meditation. You wake up one day, every morning, and you say, God, I'm grateful for waking up and my recovery and this and that. Hopefully you go through the rest of your day being grateful for the opportunities recovery has given you. And this is how you gain that conscious contact. You start thinking about what you prayed for, and hopefully you get so good at it that you can do this spontaneously throughout the day. You could do this spontaneously and think deeply and consider things as your day is moving, as you're just going through stressful times, happy times, tired times, lonely times, when your morals are being tested, when you're being challenged, when you're going through hardship or death or a love or something. You know what I mean? You start to think deeply about these things and consider them. Now, questions, comments, concerns? All right. Everybody's with me? Raise your hand if you're with me. All right, my people. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get into the literature. If this is our first experience with 11th step, we'd be surprised to learn we've already been meditating and doing so on a regular basis. Each time we stand as a community at a meeting and observe a moment of silence, we are meditating. It is from such beginnings that we go on to build a pattern of regular meditation. There are many different ways we can go about meditating. Its usual goal is to quiet the mind so we can gain an understanding and knowledge from a higher power. So the goal is, all those things are coming in. I can't focus. I can't do this. The goal is to quiet the mind so the real knowledge can come in. Some people just can't do that. It's not their fault. Maybe these things that they are pressing are major things. And what I say is, maybe you should be thinking about that shit. Like, maybe someone's like, bro, I can't focus because, like, I start thinking about bills. I start thinking, well, bro, maybe you should think about your bills, dog. Maybe that's like shit you should actually consider. Maybe your bills are racking up because you have been thinking negatively about them instead of thinking positively. And people are like, bro, what do you mean? How's that? Well, dude, I mean, maybe you should go back to the 4th step and listen to some of my fucking classes on the 4th step. You can go back to fear and start understanding fear a little bit. I'm not going to get into it, but go to that class. And then we want to gain. So if I'm unable to, and how long does it take for new knowledge and understanding to come in? How long do I need to quiet the mind for? Bro, a half a second. If you can quiet the mind for a half a second, there's an opportunity for something to come in. An opportunity for you to see, hear, think, smell, whatever. Be exposed to something new. We try to minimize distractions so that we can concentrate on knowledge arising from our own spiritual connection. We try to be open to receiving this knowledge. It's essential that we understand that such knowledge is not necessarily or even usually immediate. It builds in us gradually as we continue to practice regular prayer and meditation. You need to practice it and it improves. The more you practice, the better you get. It builds in us gradually as we continue to practice regular prayer and meditation. It comes to us in a quiet sureness of our decisions, in a lessening of the chaos that used to accompany all our thoughts. So how do I know prayer and meditation is working? There's a quiet sureness in our decisions, so these decisions are no longer chaos and difficult. And just consider this for some people from early recovery to later recovery. That's where the unconsciousness starts to come into play and you start to understand it. In early recovery, we're like, this is never going to work. There's so much chaos. It's never going to work. I can't even stay sober right here. How the fuck am I going to stay blah, blah, blah. And then now it's like, yo, maybe some of that chaos has quieted down. Maybe you're sure of your recovery. Maybe you're more confident in your decisions that you're making. And this may be evidence that some of the meditation is working. Where is this meditation, Jimmy? So where's the meditation? We haven't been doing any meditation groups here at LAC or whatever. Oh, you haven't? Maybe you've been doing guided meditation every time you've been in fucking group. Maybe the group facilitator is guiding you to think deeply about your addiction, every single group. And maybe when you think deeply about your addiction, every single day for 6 hours a day for fucking 30 goddamn days, maybe you start to be sure that you're an addict. Maybe you start to be sure that recovery is possible. Maybe some data starts to come back because you're constantly exposing yourself to a new idea, gaining a new perspective. And some people refuse it. Some people are like, nope, I don't want to hear it. Nope. And they don't want that contact. They don't want to be brought aware of it. They don't want to stop. They're reluctant. They're defiant. You know, dude, why are you here? Why are you here if you're not trying to think about this shit? Why are you wasting your time? So and you know what? If you don't take time to think deeply about these things, maybe jail will help you think about it. You know, if you can't think deeply about these things, maybe some serious life-altering outcome as a result of drinking will help you fucking think about that shit. You know, maybe your opportunity to think about this part of your life right here, right now, is an opportunity that's been presented to you. And maybe every single day you've been going to group, you didn't see group as an opportunity. You saw it as just group. Just fucking group, dude. I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to go to this, listen to this guy on a fucking screen yell at me about fucking all this dumb 12-step shit. Bro, okay, then fucking, I guess you could have done it on your own then, dude. I guess you already have the knowledge. I guess you already have the power, dude. I don't even have all the knowledge and power. It's like, dude, come on, man. Humble yourself. Humble yourself. Now, what is conscious? Like, we went a little bit into prayer and meditation. We talked about how we meditate, when we meditate, how we feel about meditating. Now I want to talk a little bit about the conscious contact, right? Conscious is aware and responding to one's surroundings. Having knowledge. So basically what consciousness is saying is you're awake, you're conscious, but also having knowledge of something, being aware of it, sometimes being painfully aware. Sometimes consciousness is being painfully aware of what you're doing, right? Of one's surroundings. Like somebody may all of a sudden, once they are exposed to blue lights behind them while they're driving, become painfully aware that drinking and driving is illegal as shit, dude, and you're about to go to fucking jail. Oh, is that what it takes? Does it have to take that? Does it take that? Is that what it's going to take for me to get this conscious contact, to start thinking that maybe I should not do that? For some of us, maybe. And then what happens then? Then we really start praying. God, please, dude. Please let me get out of this, bro. Please. Then we're there, right? Conscious. To be conscious is to be aware of responding to one's surroundings, right? Consciously saying, okay, what is happening in my life? Like, where are you right now? Becoming aware of where I am physically in life. Like, okay, I'm in a rehab, right? So as someone who is attending rehab, what do I need to do, right? Like, this is how you discover what is God's will. How do I start to have this conscious contact? Okay, I'm in rehab. If somebody was in rehab, what should they do, right? What would they would have to go to group. They'd have to do this therapy, group therapy, individual therapy, curfew, yada, yada, yada. Am I doing that? Am I doing that reluctantly? Or am I doing that knowing that this is God's will for me? Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I was put here to accomplish this goal, to give this everything I have. Am I aware of that? Or do I need to become painfully aware of that? Some people relapse and become painfully aware that where they were was an opportunity they missed. Anybody ever feel that before?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that like when you're becoming painfully aware that, oh my God, I'm in the same place? Like, how did I get here? What is that like?
There's a second feeling. Yeah, thank you. You start to realize the people that you hurt, people lose marriages, kids, because they're drinking. They go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, that's where the pain started. I realized the damage was doing to other people.
And just think, like, is that God?
Yeah, I know it is for me.
What is God? How? Just think about that. How is God working in that moment? I want to hear how do you imagine when you come face to face with the pain that you've caused and you become painfully and consciously aware of pain that you have caused? How is God present in that moment? How do you imagine God trying to communicate to you?
I lost my leg from drinking and driving, and it almost killed me October of last year. And to see my family standing over me in tears, not knowing whether I was going to live or die, bothered me, as well as I'll never forget my wife telling me that God had to lay me down so I would look up. I've never heard that before, so when I heard that, that was my wake-up call. That's how God spoke to me, Everything else I've tried with you is not working. You're ignoring me, so I got to sit you down. You set me down.
You had to be set down to look up and see for God to use all of this to get the point across, dude. Like, consider the life. Thank you for sharing. What?
Even after the flies and all that little type of stuff, it still wasn't enough.
Right.
I got 6 flies over the last 18 months.
Even in that, dude, right? It's like, oh my dear God. And the whole time, God has been using our family, our friends, our job, our health, our arrests, our DUIs as vessels for us to learn this lesson. And instead of consciously becoming aware that this is God giving me an opportunity, we get emotional or we get connected in who we think we are and self-driven and just keep on going, dude. And it took all of that pain for us to gain that conscious contact and come to a spiritual awakening and say, fuck, dude, I'm fucking up. I got to make some serious change, bro. And sometimes it takes our family to do an intervention if we're lucky. You know what I mean? And, the messenger gets in the way of the message that God is trying to give me. Like, God's been giving me this message the whole time, and I've been unconscious to this message. It's like he's leaving me voicemails and sending me text messages, and I'm not even opening them or replying or anything. And the whole time he's like, dude, here, stop. And there has to be a conscious contact. Like, there has to be, right? For the spiritual awakening to happen, you have to become consciously aware and in contact with pain, maybe goals. Like, you have to come in and if you're not thinking deeply about these situations, maybe on a day-to-day basis, then you're going to avoid them. These are painful, dude. These aren't fun. I may avoid them. I may be avoiding the very things I need to face so that I can have the change that I should have. And perhaps I'm here in life because of all of those opportunities I've missed, that I have not even been aware that have been opportunities. So I've just casted them off. Maybe and the conscious contact that I have had with God was like before I was in like rehab, was based on, you know, finding $20. Yo, God's got me, dude. He's wanting me to get high today. That was my fucking relationship with God before. Totally unaware of my surroundings. Totally unfocused on like anything else other than drugs. I'm unable to be aware of anything other than how I feel, my needs, my wants, my goals, my sickness. You know, until I feel good, I'm only concerned with myself, dude. You know, so I'm not aware of my surroundings. I'm not aware of how I'm feeling hurts you. That's painful. So I'm actually going out of my way to avoid learning that information. Okay, let's read the conscious contact, see what the heck this has to say about that. Oh, hold on. Switch this up. New share. To many of us, conscious contact sounds like something very mysterious, implying some kind of cosmic union with God, but it's really simple. It just means that we have a conscious awareness of our link to a higher power. We notice the presence of that power and see some of the ways it works in our lives. There are so many ways our members have experienced the presence of a loving God when we experience something in nature, such as a forest or an ocean, through unconditional love of our sponsor or other members, through the feeling of being anchored during difficult times, through feelings of peace and warmth, through a coincidence that later on we have seen led to something great, some great good. Though through the simple fact of recovery, through NA, through our ability to listen to others at a meeting and countless other means. The point is that we are looking and we are willing to acknowledge that our higher power is active in our lives. Are there circumstances? In what circumstances do I notice the presence of your higher power? In what circumstances do I notice the presence of my higher power? So like, when do you know God is there with you or your higher power is there with you?
I feel like when coincidences happen, I don't really believe in coincidences anymore. When stuff like that happens, it's like, I just see it as God.
What does that feel like?
It feels like, it almost feels like I don't have to worry about anything because God is going to direct me in the right direction. And like, it feels like safe almost.
Anybody else? What does it feel like? Yeah, go ahead.
Man, I'll share. It's, piggyback on Nicole because we had a moment this morning. At least, he was showing me some of the music he was making, and I was kind of playing guitar over it. Then, the song changed, and I was like, well, screw it. I'm gonna throw it in drop beat, play a song on my own, and I played that first chord, and it was the same damn chord in his song. It's like it was wild. It was wild, and so after that, we just sat and hung out and talked about this. Just for a while. I got meds this morning.
What did that feel like?
I mean, to me, it's surprising, but I've had so many of those moments since, or at least I've realized so many of those moments since becoming sober. I feel like I've been able to notice what's going on around me.
Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you for sharing. Almost like I feel like when I feel this way, I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Like I feel in sync. I'm like, dude, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm meant to do this. And it's not always like I don't know. The other day I went and did a commencement speech for a drug court. And usually I like charge a fee, but I didn't. I just went and spoke. You know what I mean? And I was like, should I fucking send them an invoice? You know what I mean? And I'm like, nah, dude, just fucking let it ride. You know what I mean? I gave like a fucking commencement speech in front of like 80 people. And I don't know. I just feel like that was the right thing to do. You know what I mean? It's like maybe you've ever had the moment where you're sitting there, you're going through your everyday life, and you just do what you think is the right thing. And to me, that's when I feel aligned with God. And it just feels like everybody was saying safe, serene, like nothing bad is gonna come of this. Yeah, go ahead. I saw your hand up in the back. Yeah, you had your hand up. Oh, okay. You ever felt that in active addiction? The presence of God. What did the presence of God feel like in active addiction?
I felt that safe feeling and stuff when I was like, when I would do like pain pills. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
Like I would feel, I'd get high and it felt like there was like almost like a warm hug, you know? Like it just felt like everything was all right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, is everything all right though?
No, it's not. But that's why I was getting high, because it would give me that feeling like everything's gonna be all right.
Right. And it's
I know it wasn't, but
it's
it was
just
like this for God.
yeah, and it's when I totally agree with you. And to me, it's just so interesting how like the presence I feel today on a foundation of making the good decisions I've made in the past is the same feeling that drugs gave me, but I did not actually have.
Yeah.
So it was like drugs gave me this sense of security that didn't exist. And today, when I have that conscious contact and I actually feel it, it like gives me that sense, and it's fucking real, dude. It's like
drug for God, for real.
holy shit. Yeah, for real. Yep.
Yeah, for me, like my higher power is like the universe, you know, time, space, people, humanity, nature, everything. And when I was in active addiction, time was the devil, you know, like if I couldn't get my fix, or if I couldn't, you know, even coming down like with withdrawals and recover and detox, it's like time slowed as we approached that med time. It's like time just expanded. It's like, and in that moment where they're about to get the Suboxone, it's like you're just like sitting there in anticipation. And so it's like, I don't know, things just, but now in sobriety, everything's just like smooth. It feels just normal. Everything's just as it should.
Which is interesting because here you're talking about the concept of time, and you've been having this relationship with time for quite some time. And you end up, when you're sober, it's a healthy relationship, but as soon as you use, it distorts that relationship and makes it unhealthy. It like distorts it distorts your conscious contact. You know what I mean? It makes that conscious contact like a negative one. And we don't want, and then it's like, I don't want contact with a negative I'm high. I don't want fucking contact with a negative, you know, feeling. So we avoid it. We never think about it. We never get these answers, and a type of person is developed who does not think deeply about those things, and they also respond emotionally to different circumstances, moods, and relationships a certain way. Like someone, just imagine like someone who's on Xanax, okay, right, is unconsciously stealing shit. I don't give a fuck who you are, right? Most people who are on Xanax, who are not prescribed them, will it's like known. They'll take Xanax and they will steal things. You know what I mean? They're not in contact with the decisions they're making. So emotionally, they're not in contact with how these decisions are affecting their character, their moral quality. And if they're just going through life taking Xanax every day, eventually those decisions are going to be made for them. Like their inability to manage time, their relationship with time may be distorted. Their relationship with who they are may become distorted, and they lose contact with a higher power. They lose contact with themselves, unable to, and then they become afraid to even think ideas about themselves, and they defend false realities about themselves. So it's like you see people who they get called, they're like, bro, you're a drug addict. You know that, right? And they say, fuck you, no, I'm not. You're a fucking drug addict. It's like they are actually, in fact, a drug addict. Perhaps that's their higher power coming into contact with them, trying to send them a message. And because I'm numb to my surroundings, because I'm not consciously aware of them, I'm not even noticing the actual message that my God has put in front of me to take. Because I'm fucking high as shit. Maybe I'm on my phone. Maybe I'm not even focused at all. Maybe I'm thinking about something that I said fucking 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? And that's where the power of meditation can revert me back and stay focused on what is the will, gain the power and knowledge that I need, even if it's for like a millisecond. But if I'm high, that becomes nearly impossible. And the reality in which I'm coming into contact with is distorted. It's not even real. The belief that drugs cause us to have on what our surroundings are presenting us is totally distorted and wrong. Holy shit, am I right? What the fuck? Okay. I'm going to read through this. The knowledge that has been building in us, this is God's will, as we pray and meditate is the essence of God's will for us. The whole purpose of praying and meditating is to seek the knowledge of a higher power's will for us and, of course, the power to carry that out. But the first thing to do is identify God's purpose for us, for our lives. It takes a large amount of open-mindedness to begin to understand God's will for us. Many of us find that it is easier to identify what is not God's will for us than what is. This is absolutely fine. In fact, this is a great starting point that can lead us to more specific knowledge of God's will for us. First of all, and obviously, it is not God's will for us to relapse. We can extend this simple fact to conclude that acting in any way that might lead us to relapse are also not God's will for us. We don't need to become overly analytical about this and start questioning whether our daily routine could possibly lead us to relapse. And it's really much easier than that. We use all of the knowledge about ourselves and our patterns that we gain from the work we did in steps 4 through 9, and we try our very best to avoid destructive patterns. We'll discover that we no longer have the luxury of consciously acting out. We can't deal with situations by thinking, oh, I'll just be manipulative this one time, and then I'll write about it later, work with my sponsor, and make amends. If we do such a thing, we're not only on very dangerous ground, we're making a conscious and deliberate decision to go against God's will. There will be many, many times we act on defects unconsciously. It's our conscious and willingness to be deliberately destructive in this situation that is the real cause for concern. So if you're unconsciously making problems or causing problems, that's like not your fault. Like if you knew, you wouldn't have done that thing. It's knowing it's wrong and doing it anyways that is the cause for concern. In the third step, we explored the fine line that divides humble and honest pursuit of our goals from subtle manipulation of forced results. Now, with the experience we have gained in the intervening steps, we are much better equipped to spot that line and stay on the right side of it. As we go after the things we want, we need to consciously gauge our distance from that line. For instance, we may decide we want to be in a romantic relationship. There's nothing wrong with that, provided we are spiritually motivated to keep track of the line between God's will and self-will. If we lie to make ourselves seem more attractive or become chameleons, we're acting on self-will. If we honestly express who we are, we're more likely to pursue God's will. If we're trying to change our potential partner in a relationship into something he or she is not, we're acting on self-will. If, on the other hand, we've already determined what we want in a pattern and the person we're seeing seems to be matching that vision. Oh, wait, hold on. If, on the other hand, we've already determined what we want in a partner and the person that we're seeing seems to be matching that vision without our intervention, we're probably on living in God's will. That's how we tell whether our relationship with God's will for us or not. Or say we want a college education. Are we willing to cheat on a test to get it? Doing such a thing would turn into otherwise worthy goal into an act of self-will. The avoidance of acting on self-will is the primary reason we pray only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. What are some situations I can identify from my own life where I acted on self-will? Can anybody talk? Does anybody know times where they know they were acting on self-will? And what was that like for you? What were hold on, let me put this up. What are some situations? Share the screen. Boom. What are some situations where I can identify my own life where I acted on self-will? And what were the results? Like you were like, now self-will is you doing what you want instead of like what you need to do.
When my ex cheated on me, we broke up and we got back together, and God was telling me not to be with her pretty much, and I acted on self-will, and it was a year of hell.
Bro, great example. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Okay. Yep.
I have something. Well, I had done 7 months in Dixie County Jail, and then I got out and I went to my mom's, and I could have stayed there, but I went out with a friend instead. And that day, I was smoking crack and shooting heroin. I could have stayed with my family, but I chose to, go out with a friend because I've been locked up for so long. And I knew that was, a bad decision, but I wanted to do it. And then I ended up getting caught at a trap house and going back to jail for 8 more months. So,
that same day?
No, a week later.
So you ended up going to the trap, smoking crack and shit like that, and ended up like basically being there and getting high all week and running?
Yes.
Damn.
And drove past the door.
Damn.
And then I sat 8 months in jail, and then I got court ordered to do rehab. So here I am.
When you were, well, wow, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for being here. When you had to do those next, like, so you said you knew what you were doing was wrong, like even the first time. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. When did you like yeah, I mean, actually, never mind. That's pretty much the question. My question was like, when did you become aware that like what you were doing was wrong? Like, did you ever start thinking like you were gonna get away with this, or were you kind of like paranoid, peeking over your shoulder for that week?
Oh no, I thought I was gonna get away with it, and then one day just drove task force, pulled up in the damn driveway, and just kicks the door in. So there I was. Didn't know.
Wow. So it took you, it went from me knowing I shouldn't do this because I'm going to get caught. And somewhere in that week, you started, like, this goes right back to what we were just talking about, the concept of time, the concept of reality and our surroundings. Like, you knew what was going to happen. And then somewhere within a week, we started believing that that was not going to happen. Where do you think, how long do you think in that week you started thinking that you're going to get away with this?
Well, I mean, I figured I was just gonna get away with it until I was done, and then I would go back home. Like, it was really stupid. And within that week, my nanny, she, like, when I went home that day, I got out of jail. My mom told me my nanny was dying and that I needed to go and see her. And instead of that, I went out and used drugs. And then within that week, my mom called me and told me my nanny passed away.
Mm.
It was so heartless in me because I had no emotion to it. I didn't even cry about it. I didn't even go to the funeral. It was horrible. And then when I went to jail, my mom, she let me sit in there for 4 months without talking to me. Just completely cut me off. So that's when I really woke up and was like, holy shit, I need to get my life together, because like the only person that's never gave up on me is giving up on me.
So,
And it really woke me up.
so you get woken up, you become conscious, like literally, like we were just talking about, we become consciously aware that like, holy shit, all this contact I've been having with these negative, like all this negative in my relationship with the people that when I got out of all this becomes, you come aware of it 4 months in, right?
Yeah.
From that point, perhaps you start aligning yourself with God's will. Okay, what do I have to do to fix this? Right? How does it feel? Or since that point, what are some situations that you've had from then to now that you've been able to identify, like, you know what, this is the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. I just got to make sure I give this 100% effort.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's days, well, there's weeks that I just want to, I just want to leave. And I want to go back home. I want to go back to Nashville. I don't want to be in Kentucky. And then I sit back and realize, like, there's some people here that care about me, that, like, my mom cares about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I never had that. And, like, there's a case manager here that just, she bends over backwards for me. And it's just, you don't really see that. Like, I've been to multiple treatment centers, and you just don't really come across people that just genuinely care about you and your freedom and just will go to bat for you. And it's just like, it's such a good feeling. Like, yeah, I have my days where I just want to run, but I can't run anymore. This is like, if I run, I have to do 2 years in jail. And like, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time in jail, and I'm over that life. Like,
So go ahead.
And I'm like, I got a job. I start today. Like, I went to the doctor, and I found out I had Hep C, and I'm getting that taken care of. Like, it's just things are, falling into place that I haven't had in a really long time, and it just feels really good. And my mom's extremely proud of me. Like the messages she sends me, it feels so good. And my brothers, like they're just so proud of me, and it just feels really good. It keeps me going.
Hell yeah, dude. And girl, you just meditated. You know what I mean? You just thought deeply about how you've been having contact with God since a moment that you had in jail, which is called a spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening that you had in jail drove you all the way to this point right here. And along this journey, you've been making people proud. You've been getting help in crazy ways. You know, you've been taking care of your health. Like, these are the positive results, like actual data, quantifiable data that you can monitor of how your life has positively changed from aligning yourself with what I should be fucking doing. And it's like, good.
I haven't done this in a long time because, like, 4 years ago, I literally thought that I wasn't gonna make it. I was gonna kill myself by shooting heroin. My ex, 4 years ago, he shot himself in front of me, and I thought my whole world was never gonna be like. I was never gonna get my shit together. I was always gonna be on the streets. I was always gonna be selling drugs. I was always gonna be out there just strung out. I thought I was never gonna get, because that's the only thing that numbed that pain was shooting heroin. It literally took everything away. But eventually it got to the point where it just wasn't, like, it was numbing the pain, but really at the end of the day it was just making it worse. Because, like, I would get sober and then my feelings would start coming back and it would scare me. And I would start thinking about all my trauma and all the shit I've done, and then I would just go back out and use. But this time, like, it's different. It really is. Like, I think about getting high sometimes. It's not all heroin, but I just want to go feel good. But I don't. And usually, whenever I think about something like that, I act on it. Always. It's always been. I've always acted on it. And I'm not this time. So.
That's incredible. And thank you for sharing, because we were talking about earlier how our conscious contact with time changes from when we're sober to when we're using. And what you're describing now is your conscious contact with pain is different when you're sober versus when you're using. When you're using, you run from pain. When you're sober, you probably still run from pain, but God has put all of this in front of you to force you into, like, walking through the pain and dealing with it the right way instead of dealing with it the other way. Like, this is how you deal with pain. This is how real, normal, productive members of society, they talk about it, they work through it, they do shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's you're coming to all of these awarenesses and you're not really coming to it on your own. I'm doing guided meditation right now. I'm guiding your thought process into a place that readjusts your perspective so you can see it from a positive point of view, or a place that maybe the future is safer, not as dangerous, or, scary. So, and it's for you, this is a relationship with yourself. This is also a relationship with a higher power. All right. First off, anybody else want to share? Sorry. Everybody, fucking fantastic job, dude. The fact that y'all sat here for that whole fucking group, man, was outstanding. I mean, it was easy to sit through because it was jam-packed with knowledge, and some of the juiciest, coolest knowledge you've ever had in your entire fucking life. And if you think it ends there, it doesn't. You better come back, because when you come back from break, we're going to talk about, okay, so I'm praying and meditating. How do I do this for power of God's will and knowledge of God's will and power to carry that out. So what does that mean? How do I do that? And come back take 20 minutes, come back at 10:45 and we will jump back in. Dude, that